No doubt that heading is exactly what you're wanting in your business right now. More clients, more conversions, less resistance, less pushback, and a heck of a lot less cancellations. I'm going to show you right now how one very simple process in that consultation process is guaranteed to make sure that you have more consults, better client conversion, and less cancellations. For so many people in private practice, hearing about more client conversions, less pushback, and less cancellations is like the absolute holy grail for a private practitioner and for a business owner in the private clinical world. But to be totally honest, it's not that hard to achieve. We do this with our clients all the time in the profitable practice. We lift up their what we call spec. We've been calling it that for more than 12 years now, long before patient visit average was around. I went to a lot of the companies and they didn't think that it was that big a deal or needed to be tested and measured. And nowadays, funnily enough, they come to the party as well. But spec is sessions per episode of care. And we've been testing and measuring this for about 12 or 13 years now into that avenue of how many times we see a client per episode of care, how many times we are ultimately having repeat clientele. We also look at upselling and cross-selling to other team members, other services and products inside our businesses. There's a huge amount of financial metrics in our automated system, but the fact of the matter is this. There is a very simple way of us as a practitioner, when you're in a room with someone, being able to actually get more client conversions, more adherence to the program and the sort of the number of sessions in that treatment and guidance that you're wanting to provide them with that's in best practice for the results that they're wanting, and being able to have less cancellations, less changes to the diary, and less problems to actually get them that result in a shorter period of time. Now, it's not too hard to believe. It's not a fate that doesn't exist. It actually does, and it's stuff that can be done very, very easily. Now, I've got to thank a good friend of mine, Bradford Powell, for teaching me in and around the whole avenue of the way he talks about the PPLA, which is pace, lead, ask. And when we stop, and I won't go into the depths of how that applies, but suffice to say, when we are finishing up consultations, whether it's the initial consultation or whether it's subsequent consultations, one of the biggest things we need to be able to do is make sure people understand the process, they understand what we're doing and why, and they understand the importance and relevance of what we're putting in place. Just telling people that they must do the following just doesn't work. I mean, heck, those of us who have kids, you tell someone to clean up their room, they don't listen, they don't want to do anything about it. If you try and give them an ultimatum such as, if you don't clean your room, you won't go to the party, 9 times out of 10, it's still not done, because that type of avenue doesn't work for kids, nor does it work with clients. Telling them you must do those exercises or I won't be able to take the next steps in our session in 3 days' time, the vast majority of times is not the driver that actually gets them to adhere to that process of what we're trying to achieve. What does is actually having people understand the relevance and understanding that 1 + 1 = 2. If what they want is A, and what they know is to be the best course of action is B, then ultimately we need to do A and B and put them together to get C. And so what we want to try and do is make sure that we're always looping around in that back third of a consultation, crucially important in an initial consultation, to make sure that we're able to reinforce at least 3 times in 3 different ways the avenue for them to understand that by doing this and they're following this treatment plan with this way, the outcome that they're wanting will be realized. And when we actually do that in 3 different ways, 3 times at the end of a consult or in that last third of a consult, we have people actually understand the importance of it. They hear it in slightly different ways. They understand it with maybe a different metaphor, maybe a different story, maybe it's an avenue of telling them once and asking them and pre-framing it in another. So now their brain hears it repeatedly, they understand it from multiple angles, and the key take-home message that brain understands is that there's a process in place, they're part of this journey, they know exactly what's benefit for them, they totally understand that they need to do the following A, B, C, D, and E, and they know how and why, they understand the relevance, they understand the importance. As a net result, they are much more likely to be accountable for delivering what you're wanting. Now, the avenue around pace, lead, ask is basically creating a situation where they know that they are on the right path. So the whole thing with the first part of the pace is you're pacing them through that. So people love to be right. They love to know that something that they're doing is right and it's correct. So when we start to use phrases like, well, you understand that what we need to do right now is we need to be able to strengthen your glutes and strengthen your legs and your lower back, etc., to take away this non-specific lower back pain, right? Bad example, but let's run with it. And so they're going, yeah, absolutely. So that's the first pace. The second pace is, well, you also understand that this is going to be a process that's going to take at least 2 to 3 weeks, and we're going to have to continually adapt to this strength. Body's going to change physiologically, and we're going to be able to move with that over a course of time, and I'm going to be able to help you out with that. And you'd understand that, wouldn't you? And people go, yes. And so now you've done pace 1 and pace 2. We then want to lead them into this. So that's where we use phrases like, well, if we know that we need to have more strength, we need more glute strength, we need to be able to get more active, we need to increase our range of motion. And if we know that to be true, and we also know that we might have a little bit of soreness, we need to be able to work through, be quite active, turn up for our treatment, and take those progressional steps over the next 2 or 3 weeks, and we know that's to be true, then the logical next step for us would be, and this is the lead, right? The logical next step for us would be to put in place a program that for us to be able to see you 2 or 3 times a week over the next 3 weeks to make sure that we can give you the outcome that you're wanting from us today. And you'd agree with that, wouldn't you? And so there's the ask. So right then and there, I've just actually talked you through a pace, lead, ask. We've turned around and said, if A is to be true and B is also to be true, then logically A and B would result in C. And then we ask for their permission. We ask for their acceptance, which is the PPLA, A for ask. So it becomes really crucial, and it's super easy, guys. Let's be completely honest. How easy is it to bring into any type of conversation with a new client saying, okay, so what you're wanting to achieve is get back to tennis, right? And you know that we need to do some manual therapy. We know that we can't play tennis for the next X amount of time period, and you know that to be true. And they're like, yeah, of course. And you go, great. And we also know that what we need to be able to do is we need to, improve the rotator cuff. We've got to be able to stabilize this, strengthen that, etc. True? And they go, yeah, great. So the logical next step would be for us to put together that 4 to 6 week program now to make sure that we stepped out. So you're very clear about it. I'm very clear, and we can hold ourselves accountable to making sure that occurs. And people go, great. Okay, great. Are you okay if we do that now? Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. And so now what we've done is, again, we've asked for permission. We've asked for acceptance. They've given us permission. They've given us acceptance. And as a net result, we know that you will always get a 60 to 80% improvement in their adherence and accountability. We know that we drop out about 80% of our cancellations because they stick to the plan. So if you can get an increase of 60 to 80% in conversions, where people will now stick to a plan where they will see you 6 or 8 times over the next X amount of weeks, as opposed to only seeing you 3 or 4 times. If you're getting 6 or 8 visits, not 3 or 4 visits, we've effectively doubled your business by this one simple avenue that you can, and strategy that you can implement straight away. Further to that, we know that our cancellations decrease by up to 80%. And this is tested across literally dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of allied health businesses. So if we can decrease those cancellations, that's less people stuffing around our diary, less white space on the diary. It's less cancellation lists we have to ring up people and say, oh, such and such is cancelled. Can you come in now, etc. It means our diary is more streamlined. It means we're able to get better outcomes. People love us more. We have more loyalty, better raving fans, all because we've been able to set this up by a simple PPLA stack. We've paced them through part A, which we know to be true. We've paced them through part B, which we know to be true. And we've shown their brain that the logical next step is that if that's to be true and this is also to be true, then we would be basically silly not to do the following, right? And no one in their right mind will ever stop and turn around and disagree. If your brain admits that, yes, A is right, yes, B is also right, then if you put A and B together, the logical next step would be to do the following. You don't sit back and then go, no, that doesn't. And so what we're actually doing is making the brain realize the logical next step, the best thing for them right now is to do this course of action. Insert our treatment plan of X amount of treatments over X amount of weeks. Here's the program. Here's the pathway, the journey. We set that out. They take ownership and accountability, but their brain also doesn't say no. We have an innate ability in our brain to always resist and say, hang on a sec. But if we've made the brain realize that part A is true, part B is true, the logical next step is doing part C because A and B is true and A and B equals C, then they go along with it. Their brain says yes, there's no resistance. And as a net result, they understand that this is right. They believe that it's right. And they've accepted it. They've answered yes. They've turned around to your question and said, are we good to do this now and make this happen for you? They say yes. And as a net result, we're asking for them to do this. Now, we know that our cancellations drop nearly 80% when we do this. We know that our conversions from rather than just selling see you next week type rubbish goes up 60 to 80%. And if you were to see someone for 6 or 7 visits because it's the best course of action that's going to guarantee them better outcomes, and they see you 8 times, not 4 times, then ultimately at the end of the day, you've actually just doubled your business. And you've doubled your business in a fast, efficient, and effective manner with a decrease in cancellations. Now, that right now is absolutely powerful for you. You can go and double your business really, really simply. You can go and get your utilization for your team members to go through the absolute roof very, very quickly and very easily. And I'd encourage you to go and do it right now. I'm not going to go into the details of some of the really specific examples and some of the actual words and terminology because I like to keep these podcasts nice and short, but I will in a follow-up podcast. And I'll also go through and show you how to also further decrease those cancellations. But right now, if you go and do exactly the strategies I'm saying right now, we teach it to all of our clients. We do it in our own clinics about the pace, lead, ask. You can easily increase your clinic conversions, your client conversions, your sessions per episode of care, your utilization for your team. You literally, and we've done this. In fact, we've done multiple walkthrough webinars with our clientele, with clients of ours doing a hot seat where they've literally doubled their business in a 3 to 4 month window by importing 2 or 3 strategies, just like PPLA, into their business, into their teams. And as a net result, their spec goes to 6 or 7 when it used to be 3.5 or 4. And trust me, there's some big multi-million-dollar businesses that we've done this for that have literally been able to double their business in a very short period of time because of secrets and tips just like this. So go and do it. Go and get the benefit from it. And you too can have a much more profitable and scalable business, which gives better patient outcomes and has a much bigger impact on the community around you by doing the right things and getting better outcomes in the way that you need them to occur right now. I'll talk to you again very soon. Hey guys, thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Profitable Practice Podcast. I would love nothing more than for you to be able to leave a review. I get so much joy out of listening and reading the amazing things that you guys say about this. So please subscribe to our channel, leave a review, and share it with your friends. Let's get some more fantastic information out there so all of us can grow the industry together. Cheers for now.